This is my first official podcast.
Welcome to the first official podcast.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jamil Hassan. I'm the host of the Crypto Hipster podcast, and I interview founders, thought leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, artists, musicians, you name it, all across the world in crypto and blockchain. And I have an amazing guest, and it's her first time, and she's an amazing guest. Her name is Andrea Berry. She's the head of business development at Theta Labs, Theta Labs Inc. Andrea, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Jamil. Glad to be here. Excited for my first official podcast at Theta.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you. So let me ask you, first of all, what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you do now?
I like to think so. So my whole career, I've predominantly been focused on video streaming technology. I started my career actually working for the Denver Nuggets NBA team. And it was there that I got really into just media technology. I used to have to interview the players after the game, and then we would transcribe it and send it out to ESPN and USA Today to use the quotes. And I used to have to use a tape recorder, and this was 2006. So I started using my iTouch instead, and everybody would say, "Wow, you're so innovative." And I was like, "Really? I'm just being resourceful." And those things kept happening. Like, I was using Twitter for background info, and all of the reporters would say, "How did you find this out?" And I was like, "It's Twitter. You guys should be on it." And I just realized how slow media world was catching up with technology trends. So I decided to move back home to the Bay Area. That's when I joined a company called Kaltura, which is the world's first open source video platform. And my brain just exploded. Seeing the ecosystem of video, I loved it, and it was exciting, and there were so many layers. I loved it. And so I worked at Kaltura for several years. I learned so much about the space. And kind of fast forwarding a little bit, it was actually a customer of Kaltura that I later joined, which brought me down to LA, which is where I'm based now in Los Angeles. And that company is Qello Media Services. It's the first music streaming video platform. So they were like Netflix, but with concerts, music documentaries, and they had built it off of Kaltura. And so the CEO hired me because he was essentially reselling the back-end infrastructure for businesses to use as their own streaming platform. So that was really interesting. That was back in 2016. I later then joined Vimeo to help with their strategic sales for enterprise, helping companies launch or relaunch their video direct-to-consumer offerings. It was there that I actually met Mitch, and I had met with him. They were a competitor to Twitch at the time. It was really interesting, but to me, it was advantageous. Like, that was my perspective at the time, and I kind of thought, oh, that's really exciting. These guys are innovative, but got a big hill to climb. And funny enough, years later, when I started talking with Mitch again over this past Christmas and began interviewing, they had done everything they said they were going to do, and so much more, that it was really impressive. And that's when I started to get excited, and ultimately giving you a little context of how the path to Theta came to be. But I was really thrilled to hear about the role at Theta. Their layer one blockchain company, solely focused on media and entertainment infrastructure, which is a lot of video, of course. And Mitch has tasked me in this role to be an advocate and help with adoption of Web3 in this space. So it was a natural fit for me and my experience to help my network understand what the possibility is for Web3 in media and entertainment. And that's my role, which is really thrilling. So it's kind of like everything I've done has always been helping companies embrace video technology, demystify it, because it's really complicated. So being in blockchain video is very much a natural fit for me. It's complicated today, but Theta's focused on helping that adoption advocacy, helping these companies transition into Web3.
Awesome. I was wondering who was going to be doing that. So Um, so
Yeah.
I'll ask you more about that a little later. So from what you've seen so far, what do you think makes Theta great?
Yeah, so I joined the company late March and it feels a little bit like dog years, like I've been here forever, which is an exciting feeling, of course. But just caveating that to say that I'm still relatively new to this space. However, what I've quickly found that makes Theta very different is we have a holistic approach. We have our NFT marketplace, which is called Theta Drop. And what I've seen is that there are companies who maybe are just the NFT marketplace or just one component of Web3. And so the fact that we have a layer one blockchain infrastructure, we have the NFT marketplace that helps companies kind of put their toe in the water and it be exposed to Web3. But then we have the infrastructure to help them build out utility and grow and start to lean into these other elements that can really solve serious business problems for them. So that's from like a technical perspective. Now, more from a strategic level, same kind of approach. Holistically, we partner with our clients and we're there to be their trusted Web3 experts. Very different from a lot of companies out there in this space. We're not looking at our relationships as a flash in the pan or a one and done. We want to partner and grow with them. Their success on our blockchain is quite literally our success. So we work almost as an extension of our partners' teams as they need it, whether that's with just coaching them week to week on the culture and what's going to work in an NFT strategy versus what we need to steer away from. We help educate and empower them so that they are Web3 experts within their own organization. And that kind of like partnership, holistic hand-holding approach, surprisingly, is not a big part of this industry. It's kind of like you either have to be in the know or you're just kind of peering in and curious from the outside. So we're helping bridge that.
Right. So I definitely feel that way. I definitely feel even though I'm a podcaster and I've had 185 podcasts, even because I'm not building and actively involved with clients in the space, I feel like an outsider, right? So how are you bridging that gap?
Yeah, sometimes people make fun of me for this cliche statement, but each media company is really a snowflake, so it does mean something different to each business. So the risk of overgeneralizing it, how we're helping this is, we have infrastructure that, a more maybe engineer focused media entity or, a group that has more engineer resources, they can run with it and build whatever they can dream of course. But then we have, productization of certain elements of our infrastructure that, companies like a Fremantle, which they own, American Idol, Price is Right, a lot of successful IP, they came to us and essentially gave us the clearance and the IP rights to then say, what can we do here? And we were able to work with them very much as an advisor or consultant to help them model out what made sense. It's critical that they know their business, they know their audience, that they work with us, but we were able week by week, to develop this strategy, implement it with them, be an extension of their team, and execute the project to its success and beyond. And we also are there to advise for them on, this is the project as it is today, but what this technology or use case will allow is XYZ, in 12 months or next season. And that's where I think they get really excited because they can see the potential. They can start to internally, advocate for what's happening next season. I'm probably going down a specific path here, but it's things like this, like very quite literally, we're on the phone with them every week, and we are true partners where we just want to educate them because they can go be advocates on their own for more data Web3 technology. I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
Yes. I will have a follow-up, but I want to shift gears slightly, just slightly to because this is the first time I ever heard of this word. Okay. And I want you to find the word, please, for me first before I can ask a question about it. And the word is churn. What is churn?
Yes. Churn is essentially the loss of a customer. So we hear this a lot in the streaming wars. You know, Netflix in their last, I believe it was the last quarterly earnings report, they lost almost 1 million customers. That was churn. So it's the concept of losing a customer, and then of course there's win back campaigns and how do you win that customer back. But churn is the loss of that subscriber, really the loss of that credit card.
So then in the Web3 technology space, how do we solve the problems with what are the major problems with churn and how do we solve them?
Yeah, there's so many ways. This is where I get really nerdy about my job because there's a lot of directions to take. But to give you a few ideas, you know, a big part of the issues with churn that we hear from big streaming platforms is, you know, sharing passwords, or it's just too competitive. HBO is maybe too similar to Netflix, too similar to Prime. And that's why it's called the streaming wars. I always joke it's called the churn wars, because really they're pouring so much money into win users or customers to then lose them and try to win them back. But what Web3 allows, and I'll give you actually a very literal data product, is solutions here. So one being password sharing. You know, we just patented the concept of NFT DRM, which is digital rights management. And it's the idea that you would use your NFT instead of your email login and password to get access to content. And as we know, an NFT can't be replaced or replicated, I should say. And I can't just send it to you to go ahead and log into my account with. I have to prove that I own it within my wallet. So right there, and then it really solves with the password sharing issue that we hear a lot about, that I'm probably guilty of with my family as well. But then more on the revenue side with churn, you know, lifetime value, LTV, is something that we see in these streaming reports. And usually, you know, a healthy streaming platform understands what their average lifetime viewer value is. And so they can, well, let's see, I'm trying to boil the ocean here for you, but the concept of like an NFT pass and a membership pass rather than a subscription and a monthly credit card charge is possible with NFTs. It's possible with Web3 technology. So, you know, we talk about this often with our clients and they're figuring out how to implement this. Is what if you knew your lifetime value of a customer was $500, let's say. It's $500, their credit card is going to be processed month over month before they average churn. So, you know, if a company knows that's a $500 number, what if they could offer a limited release of lifetime passes to their subscription service for $1,500? You know, they would have to add some kind of elements to make it feel more like a membership instead of your traditional subscription. Things like front of the line at Comic-Con with this NFT pass. Maybe you get a sweatshirt every year. You know, you can be really creative there, mixing virtual or in real life goods. But point being, it's a membership pass over subscription. And when me as a holder of this, you know, made up NFT membership pass, they don't want it anymore for whatever reason, instead of me canceling my account, I actually just resell that NFT pass in the secondary market. And the company no longer is losing a client, they're making incremental revenue in the secondary market. That is like flipping the entire script upside down, with the biggest pain point in the industry being churn. You know, it changes the conversation completely. Instead of lost revenue, it's actually incremental revenue. I know it's a really specific example, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of one idea in particular.
Yeah, no, it's a great example. You know, and that goes hand in hand with what you said, that you were looking to achieve Web3 adoption. You know, so how, you know, and it's a great concept, but how do we achieve that Web3 adoption? I mean, Obviously it's
Yeah.
a paradigm shift for all the customers, but how do we get them to be fine with that, and how do we get them there?
From the customer perspective or more so the business perspective?
Oh, both.
Like the businesses. Yeah, yeah. I think the business one we'll start with. I think it's clear to most people. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised when I first started at Theta how open media companies are to have conversations around Web3. I think that they realize it can solve real problems and give the businesses back more power or independence, the same way it can for creators and content creators that we've seen today in the world. But from a business perspective, it can do the same thing. It can level the playing field so that these businesses aren't so dependent on a vendor or have to be so trusting of a partner or a vendor. One example being, let's say, rights management and payouts. We being the business, you have to trust the vendors reporting accurately, paying out accurately, and it's kind of this blind trust of faith. And how do we know? You have to go through a formal audit that can be, complicate a contract with the client just to make sure they're paying you out correctly. Like blockchain very much is so strong because of its auditability nature. And so blockchain solves a lot of these issues where, if set up correctly, it's a trustless system. It levels the playing fields for businesses to not be so dependent on vendors, or consumers to not be so, I don't know, feel so taken advantage of by the businesses or streaming platforms. It just levels the playing field, and it offers businesses a more one-to-one relationship with their end consumer. It cuts out a lot of middlemen. It is a more seamless experience, but the opportunity is so much more great because, there's this saying, you should own your audience, right? I used to use this a lot at Vimeo, that you should have your own streaming platform. You shouldn't depend on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, because you're at their mercy, right? And you don't really own your audience. You own your Facebook account, they own your audience. And so blockchain really is taking that to the next level. It allows for a direct one-to-one relationship. Most often we see this through NFTs today, but it allows the direct relationship with the consumer, which is significant, solves so many problems. I'll kind of force myself to shut up there because I want you to chime in and guide me a little bit on where I can get more specific.
Oh, I mean, I was looking from the content creator perspective, because I do these podcasts, and I've been hesitant to put it on YouTube because I don't want to enrich the C-suite and the board of directors at Google, right? So how can people who are content creators, use Theta or use your experience or leverage your expertise to be able to create a online Web3, place like YouTube or not, where we can have our content, where we own the content and Google doesn't own it.
Right. I think even from a monetization standpoint alone, YouTube, you end up scraping together your pennies because the waterfall of revenue. There are so many people or pieces that have to take their cut of the revenue that then you as a consumer are usually left with peanuts. Not to mention YouTube is a vast ocean where then you have to spend marketing to try to drive your users. They potentially could be sent to a, competitive experience. But aside from that, I could go on and on about YouTube. Is Theta is helping creators, content owners, business owners in media and entertainment become more independent and not so reliant on third parties, whether that's for revenue, whether that's for operational systems, communication, marketing systems. It's probably a good time to bring up and clarify, because I think Theta is most commonly known for Theta TV, which originally the company was called Sliver TV, and that was a Twitch competitor. That's back when I met Mitch, was back in 2018, I believe, when it was still Sliver TV. Theta TV exists today, but we keep it running, really as a proof of concept to showcase what's possible to build on Theta. So I think that's a big misconception in the market. I hear it often when I'm meeting with executives that they say, oh, I know you are the Twitch competitor. And I say, well, yes, but really we're not focused on being a Twitch competitor. That product is really there to show you that you, clients, can build the next Twitch or Snapchat or Netflix or whatever it might be. We are infrastructure that enables that to be possible. So just wanted to take the opportunity to clarify that, because while we do have very much a consumer facing solution that's more for the everyday creator, we also, very much are focused on the enterprise relationships, enterprise IP owners, holders, to help them own their audience more. I'll pause there though, because I can go into a little bit of some of those products we're building out if that's interesting.
Yeah, please do, because I'm interested to see what enterprises can do, because it seems like enterprises right now are kind of like laggards in this area as opposed to individuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Right. Individuals naturally are more autonomous, but so I mentioned that we patented this concept of NFT DRM. So we are very close to announcing, I think it's safe to say here, by the time it airs, it will be public knowledge, but we're close to announcing this concept of a video portal. And it's, a Theta Drop is the name of our marketplace, and it would be a Theta Drop hosted video portal that you would have to use an NFT to grant access to that particular video centric page. Now we're working with our clients and our partners who have existing NFT projects to leverage this product so that they will be able to add utility to their NFT community. So the idea that they could host a live event, an AMA, whether it's putting up a library to consume and go through, it's this gated experience. Traditionally in Web 2, this would be a paywall, right? This would be a Patreon wall. But today it's through an NFT. That's the key. That's the authentication that then grants you access to this video experience. And what's really exciting about this video portal product is that I see it more as a fandom destination. So we are building the MVP of this out, but companies can come and develop it, build their own version of this, but they'll be able to gamify the video experience being that, if you watch 10 episodes in 10 days, you get unlocked this free bonus episode. The packaging of the content becomes much more interesting to incentivize behavior rather than just like, okay, I log in and there's my mass library of content. It's a place that I can consume video content. I can chat, comment with other like-minded NFT holders of that space. But again, it's like almost like a hosted movie theater that can host a live event, video on demand broadcast, or, more like a typical library. So we have, we're offering with one of our clients, we're announcing soon, a season pass that, we're not calling it an NFT, it's a digital season pass. And you can buy the current season and watch it ad-free on thetadrop.com/this client. And so I can go in there, watch it ad-free, but also talk with other NFT holders and really embrace that community aspect is what's very interesting there, because the community aspect is very key for success with a product offering like video. That's one example of a product that we're building that I think will be a next wave of users, will be offered to anybody who has an NFT project on Theta. And we're even discussing allowing the authentication for other blockchain platforms to be authenticated and get access, which is a really exciting concept in itself.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really, really great. And thanks for moving forward. I have two last questions. I want to switch gears entirely here, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to come out with a question from left field. You are the co-founder and advisor of Botania, right? What is that?
Yeah.
What is that all about? And what, what makes it really exciting? Because it sounds really interesting to me.
Yeah, well, I'll turn on my video again to show you my background for everybody listening. Obviously, you can't see my background is dripping with plants. So during COVID, my partner and I, he is in the plant industry. He decided to go out on his own and create this houseplant company. So it's really like a side project that I help him with on the weekend, but it's very LA for me to say this. So, but he is a plant designer. So it's a plant design company, and what we do is we help people just build their confidence with plants because there is true science behind why plants make us happy. And that I could nerd out on for a whole hour with you, but it's really important to us that people build their confidence and can learn about plants and have more plants in their life because I would had a black thumb. I would kill every plant that ever came my way. And through coaching, I was able to now do everything behind me and create stuff. So that's what I do on my side project for fun. And it's a good creative outlet since I spend so much time in front of the screen and in technology. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to thank
Yeah.
you. I want to thank you for showing me your plans. I want to thank you for sharing your time with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. And I have one
Good.
final, and it's this. It's
Yes.
how can people find out more information about you, about Theta, about what you guys do, what you're up to? How can they, possibly test out some of your great creations and inventions? How can they do any of that?
Yeah, I mean, you can visit us on thetatoken.org. Twitter is pretty active. I like to be pretty active on Twitter. But forewarning, I'm talking a lot about plants and the NBA as well. But that's like the best way to interact with us in a more so supportive way. For businesses, we're open to conversation. Any kind of IP holders or content creators that want to discuss NFTs and potential projects, that's usually what we see as the best and lowest barrier of entry to get started and start to embrace the Web3 infrastructure world. Always happy to have those conversations.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Cool. Thanks, Jamila. I appreciate it.